Hey, this is a bit of an edit. I don't usually do this, but just to clarify something, when I got done, I was looking through some with editing. I wanted to mention that the writers of the film, just some people say, well, M. Night didn't write this movie, so that's why maybe it's a bit halfway decent. He's one of three writers. So I think M. Night, the awkward dialogue exchanges, like the few and far in between, and some of the stuff, I think that's M. Night's fault. But the other two, Steve Desmond and Michael Sherman, which before this they had done a short film, which I'd never seen, called Monsters from 2015, about 13 minutes long. They wrote the most of the film, so like I said, I have a feeling the movie is halfway decent. Number one, because of the actors, which I'll get into, but also Michael Sherman and I forget the other guy's name now. I just had it. They helped out a bit. I think they were part of the driving force to really help this movie along. Michael Sherman and Steve Desmond. Maybe M. Night should have left them completely alone instead of putting your stains on it. Because if you go on like Wikipedia and stuff, it says those two and M. Night had a hand in writing it. So M. Night, leave the writing alone. Never write again. You're not a good writer. But Not to the Cabin, not that bad of a movie. Why do I feel that way? You heard about it in a bit, so yeah. Decent job with the other two writers. M. Night, don't write it again. Okay? Shamalama ding dong. So I'll edit it in at the beginning. Continue with the rest of the review. Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the other videos? Another paid request, this time for Joey. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, re-reviews, reviews, what have you, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. I also have a second YouTube channel, just in case anything happens. That's down below as well. And yeah, feel free to send pretty much any type of requests. I'll get to them as soon as I can. And this is for a film called Knock at the Cabin from 2023. It's a new M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong film. Now, I'm not a big fan of this director. I think you look at his filmography, it's more misses than hits. I really enjoy Unbreakable. I think that's his only great film he's done. Sixth Sense I thought was okay, but pretty overrated. There's many other films I prefer, like Stir of Echoes. I think that Signs I can watch. I know the ending's a bit goofy, I know, but I can watch Signs, and I say probably my second favorite M. Night film is Signs. And then after that, The Village, Lady in the Water, Last Airbender, The Visit, Old, like just awful upon awful films. The Happening, awkward dialogue, bad acting, crappy stories that wouldn't even work for a Twilight Zone episode. Or maybe they would with better talent. It just there's many times M. Night Shyamalan just falls flat on his face. The Visit I hated. With the two kids, the other boy rapping, thinking he's Vanilla Ice, and then he gets a dirty diaper in his face for good measure. And the grandparents, where one is running around like Speed Demon, like the Flash for some reason, like an overgrown groundhog. What's going on? Something super dark? No, they just happen to be crazy. That still doesn't explain how they're able to do this, but they're just crazy. I guess they get crazy powers. Old people doing really stupid things, and I forget the one guy. He was the rapper. I forget his name, but the way that his character was named made me go, "You gotta be shitting me." Old. So when this came about, I went, I don't care. It's M. Night Shyamalan. I will say, watching the film, it was not nearly as bad as I thought it would be. It really was not as bad as I thought it would be. It's not great. but I thought it was okay. Like, long story short, I would give it maybe a 3 out of 5 stars. It's okay. I still have little issues with it. It's based on a book. I never read the book. But I thought the acting was pretty good, especially by Dave Bautista. He's wonderful in the movie. He's definitely the spine to this movie's body. He's definitely the guy holding this film up. But it's about 3 people that go to a remote cabin. It's 2 dads who are in a relationship. It's 2 guys with this adopted Asian girl. And was it woke? I thought it was well acted, and I thought it handled that actually better than a lot of other movies that do that. And I got where they were coming from, and like I said, the acting for the most part is pretty damn good across the board. And while they're there, the girl is playing against some bugs, and Dave Bautista comes up. And he's very disarming and being charming and nice and good and treats her with respect. Hey, hello there. Can I help you with this? And Dave Bautista, I do think he's very capable as an actor. I liked him in Blade Runner 2049. I liked him in this action film called Final Score. Remember Sudden Death with Van Damme? Imagine that, but instead of a hockey game, it's a soccer game. Final Score I thought was fun. He was not the problem with Army of the Dead. It was everything else. That's why I wish it was a better script. Perhaps a better director. But Dave Bautista did a really nice job in this. Good-natured, charming. I really felt sorry for his character by the end of the movie. And so at one point the little girl's talking with Dave Bautista, then ultimately she goes into the cabin with her dads, and these other people show up. There's these four strangers, Dave Bautista and 3 others. I think one of them is the kid from Harry Potter, not Daniel Radcliffe, but the guy who played Ron Weasley. I think, is that the character's name? I've seen the Harry Potter films. I don't remember much about them, to be perfectly honest. I've only seen them once. But the idea was intriguing. What if these 4 strangers come up and tie the 3 of you down, and they go, we're not going to hurt you, we can't hurt you, but one of you have to sacrifice the other, or the apocalypse is going to happen. And what I liked about it was that the 4 strangers, for the most part, they were scared, they were uneasy about doing this, they didn't want to do this, they hated that they had to do this. They're treating the 3 with respect. And you really get a sense of these 4 strangers as not just one-dimensional religious fanatics, but you really felt sorry for them because of these visions they had. They feel that they have to do this. I guess the movie's trying to play up of, which is it? Is this really all for real? Or is it a bunch of crazy religious people that believe it's real? And the movie goes on, if you don't do that, if you say no, then each one of the 4 have to sacrifice themselves, which will unleash a new plague. So like one does it, they turn on the TV, and there's a tsunami and earthquakes. If another one does it, there'll be planes falling out of the sky, things of that nature. So like I said, the idea is intriguing. It does put you in the perspective of what would you do, what would you believe in, what would you choose, how would you choose, would you choose, do you think they're full of it, do you think they're not full of it? So that's an interesting idea for a predicament. Like I said, the acting is pretty solid all along. I do like, again, the strangers. They're not just villainous characters. They care. Like, one of the 3 gets hurt, and one of the 4 is a nurse, and going, I'm a nurse, let me help him. And Listen, we're not here for hate or intolerance. We're here because we got a job to do. So again, they say that we can't hurt you, and if you do nothing, you three will live, but the rest of humanity will perish, but you three will live. And the movie goes on from there. Now, before I go on, I do have some problems with the movie. Even in this film, at times M. Night Shyamalan has some very awkward dialogue exchanges. Like, when the film began, I went, oh no. Because the little girl, her acting is fine. Dave Bautista, his acting is good. But the way M. Night's directing is, people are almost looking at the camera, and goes to Dave Bautista looking at the camera, then the girl looking at the camera, and then even at one point, M. Night just kind of does this. Or is it this? Like, kind of this. And it's like, it just felt a bit awkward. Maybe that was the point. But the dialogue changes. Like, Dave Bautista says a line like, I don't have a star like you, but if you could look inside, you see my heart is broken. Like, no one talks like this, no one speaks like this, and thankfully there's not a whole lot of those awkward conversations of that nature. Thankfully. It just, thankfully, just only few and far in between. While I do think the idea is interesting, I think the ending is rather predictable. Well, I think if you watch the advertising and such, you could predict where it's going. Some people got upset that there's no big twist in the movie, which, actually, I didn't mind that. That was actually kind of refreshing for M. Night's filmography. That wasn't this big, what a twist. I'm actually fine with that. Just I think he should go away from that. So to me, that's for the better. There are points where the four are supposed to convince these three tied up that this is real, what we're saying is real. You have to choose who to sacrifice willingly. Otherwise, we're all going to die, like all of humanity. But at the same time, they're not being mean, rude, asshole-ish. Like, they're almost begging for it. But I thought the four never really made compelling arguments to even attempt for these three to change their mind. I mean, not just the little girl, but the two dads. Which almost sounds like a sitcom. Well, yeah, My Two Dads. It was a sitcom. But they don't really give much compelling arguments to the lead characters. And I'm sitting there going, if your whole point is to convince them, you're not giving a lot of convincing arguments. Either you guys should have planned this out better, thought this out better. God or whoever is making this happen should have maybe given you more evidence to show them, more stuff to show these three to help them be convinced. So because of that, it kind of goes in a rinse and repeat formula where one does himself in, watch the TV, it's a tsunami and earthquake. The second person does it. Actually, I think when the second person does it, it's a virus. Well, on the TV. And you have, of the two tied down, one is starting to believe in this. The other is like, oh, they're just piping this in. It's live, it's not even live TV. They're crazy. This is all an act. This is all, they filmed this beforehand and blah, blah, blah. And that's why I think you could have really gotten into some arguments with the disbeliever, the more of the disbeliever of the two dads, and maybe Bautista or some other people. This isn't fate. Why do you think it's fate? Well, it's this. No, it's this. Well, it's this. You can even make the joke where the guy's like, those special effects look fake. Because there's some dodgy CGI in some of the scenes, like when the planes are falling down and stuff. There's some dodgy CGI. But you can make like, those effects look crap. You know, what are you talking about? No, like, you could have done more compelling discussions and conversations, but there really weren't. It's pretty much just them repeating the same thing, going, this is what's going to happen. Watch the TV, do you believe now? Watch the TV, do you believe now? But this is where you needed a stronger writer to really delve into discussions of whether you want to be faith versus religion or whatever ideals you're trying to go back and forth in. They're trying to do a bit of like the one guy who's a disbeliever. He's very angry about because, oh, what are you for? You attacked me back to the day in a bar. It was one of your group, and it scared him enough, and it attacked him because he was gay. Which I know would like seem like, oh god, they're going that way. I thought it was handled a bit better here, where I understand the character's point of view. Granted, the disbeliever at times was laying on a bit thick, and I don't know if I'm asking for a bit more subtlety to it all, but I think the acting and it was better than I thought it would be. Better than it sounds, I would put it. But yeah, I wish there was a bit more of this compelling arguments and discussions, and because when I got to the halfway point, I'm like, okay, now we're just kind of repeating ourselves. The first person, second, then go to the third person. And you're either waiting for stuff to escalate more, or maybe you're waiting for the strangers to get more desperate and get more, not cruel, but they get more desperate and yelling and arguing. Is like, but they have the scared but of this, like, I think even more of the escalation should have been felt. I'm not talking about like the events we see on the TV, but throughout the film it should have been much more of the strangers are scared, they don't want to be there, they hate that they have to do this, but more of a melting pot, more of the kettle ready to explode. You know, you shut the bottle, and the more you shake it, you're just getting ready to just explode. And I didn't feel as much of that as I think it could have in this movie. Now, again, the spoilers starting now. I still think it's worth the watch just to see the acting performances, to see Dave Bautista really knock it out of the park, made me really feel sorry for the character. And like I said, the idea was intriguing enough. Now maybe this would have worked better as a short film, or an episode of a Twilight Zone type of show that's like an hour long or 45, 50 minutes long. Maybe they would have worked better that route. Like I said, spoilers. The first guy, he dies of the strangers, and then again, that's when you get the tsunami earthquake. And like I said, they don't really make more compelling arguments. It's just the nurse, one of the two dads fell and has a bit of a concussion, so the nurse helps him and heals him up. And I do like that actress. She talked about, yeah, I wasn't even a religious person. I didn't even go to church for the longest time. And then this happened. It was so strange. And that's where I get into the predictability, where I think most people who see this, they're going to know that what the strangers are telling are the truth. And that loses a bit of its power. I don't really feel a sense of it could be 50-50 chance. Maybe they're telling the truth, maybe they're not telling the truth. It felt like from the get-go I knew that the strangers were telling the truth. Whether that's because of the marketing, where they give everything away, whether it's because of how all the stuff on the TV just seemed so adamant that in a weird way it seems more ridiculous that they would fake all this. I know that doesn't make sense, but it doesn't with the words they put into the doubter of the two dads vocabulary, you don't really, to me, I didn't really ever doubt that this was not happening for real. I never thought, oh, this is just crazy people and they came up with this. I mean, to be honest, I think that would have been more of the twist, was that they were lying all along and they were just, it's not that they were lying, but they were so fooled so long. I'm surprised it wasn't some twist where these four really believed it, but it was part of some fucking government program to test the morals of humanity or whatever the hell test it would be. I'm surprised they didn't go that route. I don't think that's in the book, but with M. Night Shyamalan, people want a twist, but that would have been maybe a bit like, what the fuck, really going that route? But they don't. But so that's what I mean. You know, in my opinion, adamant that no, this is what they're saying is real and is the truth. And if one of them don't sacrifice themselves, there will be an apocalypse. But yeah, this was repeat where, okay, now give more compelling arguments. Try to make them believe in it. Yeah, you're not doing a good job of making them believe in what your belief is. Like you need to do better to try to convince them. So there's a point where they get loose after the second person dies, and the two dads try to get this done, and kind of stuff that really goes nowhere, other than one of them shoots the third person, the nurse, and then that creates another plague, which I think is the planes all falling from the sky. And when the guy's like, oh, this terrorism, I do like that they put in Bautista's words, nah, you don't believe in that. And in fact, Bautista's like, I recognize this. And he turns and he starts repeating the broadcast. How did you know that? I'm sitting there, well, dude, you just said earlier that you thought this was all pre-planned or pre-recorded. So I'm surprised you didn't go that route. You thought this was pre-recorded and he memorized the dialogue at this point. But I really felt sorry for Bautista's character. There's a bit where he's outside and he's got the he doesn't use the gun in case they decide to choose. He's like, once I'm gone, you only have a matter of minutes. And I was sitting there like, yeah, tackle the guy, tackle Bautista so he doesn't end himself. But instead he slices his throat. And the world is ready to end. But then the one dad's like, you know what? Those four remind us of humanity. We see their loss. So, Bautista's character was a teacher. One was a nurse. Yes, there's bad things like malice, but there's a lot of good things as well. So the guy was more of a believer. Gets the other guy to sacrifice him. So the disbeliever and the girl, all that's left in that cabin, but they save the world. The world is safe. They drive off into a cafe. There's a bunch of people there, and they see on the TV that the disasters have subsided. The world is safe. Yeah, the disbeliever that's like, because there are people that believe in this, and I'm sure they go, I don't care, fine, it'll be the three of us. Because there are people who's like, you know what, then the world's going to have to burn because I'm not killing my loved one. There are people that believe that. You know, screw it, I'm not going to shoot my daughter or adopted daughter or my husband or wife or whatever. Just go and get some popcorn and let the world burn. Okay. And that's what the disbeliever was adamant. They're not worth it. But then the other guys, they're scared, like all of us. So some may say that's a bit on the nose in terms of how people bigotry. But I idea where it's coming from, and I think it comes from. I think his heart is in the right place for that, based on the other character who offers his sacrifice. And to me, it's kind of like a better ending than Cabin in the Woods. For spoiler, like Cabin in the Woods, they kind of have that same thing where if one sacrifices the other, the world is saved, but they're like, screw it, and the whole hand comes out. I think that's what an ending people wanted, because people like downbeat endings. I'm glad they didn't go that route, from our own personal taste. I mean, I can't really say what was it? I forget the character's name, the disbeliever guy. I can't really say if I liked his character that much. I thought the actor did a good job, but I can't really say I liked his character that much. I get his point of view, I get where he's coming from, but if I were to say I really liked him or rooted for him, I don't know. But maybe that's part of the point, is that he's this angry individual, he's a scared individual, and by what his loved one has done, hopefully he'll be a better person after this, or a more willing to let anger go. Which maybe if that's the case, they could have delved into that a bit more in the screenplay. Because it does it with his anger and why he's so angry, but a bit more of maybe the husband saying you need to let that anger go, you need to not let it control you, you need to not let it overcome your soul. Yeah, maybe that'd be a bit too on the nose, but at the very least, at the end of the day, the fact I see an M. Night Shyamalan fucking Ding Dong film, and I'm not ranting and raging, talking about how stupid it is and how nothing made sense and just cringeworthy stuff like, what was that movie Old? What the hell was the name of that one character? Old M. Night. I can't help it. I gotta look that up. Because that was so stupid. I gotta look it up. It's bugging the hell out of me. It was so dumb. I'm like, what the hell? Mid-size sedan. Mid-sized sedan. I don't know why. For some reason, I thought it was another. I mean, that's a stupid name as well. For some reason, I thought it was another name, but yeah, mid-sized sedan. What the fuck? God. Or The Happening with the talk about hot dogs and what? No. Like compared to all that stuff, this is a damn masterpiece. But as it is, I think it has some interesting ideas. I think it has some interesting topics. I just think that it either could have used a bit more bump in terms of dialogue and get a different writer in there. Because I don't think M. Night's the best writer. Far, far from it. And some touch-ups into some of the characters and did not feel like a repetitious state as it went on. But like I said, I like the idea. I like some... Like the first half, I'm kind of invested in the story. Like, even though I have a good guess as to where it's going. And Dave Bautista, like I said, it showed once again that he's actually a really damn decent actor. And I'd be curious to see what he does next in terms of starring roles. I hope he gets... I mean, I'm a bit of a sucker for action films. I hope he gets more action film roles. That's not Army of the Dead. But it shows he could do a bit more than that, so that was nice to see as well. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.